Dr. Caroline Leaf. Dr. Caroline Leaf is a cognitive neuroscientist with a PhD in communication pathology and a BSc in logopedics and audiology. She specializes in metacognitive and cognitive neuropsychology. Dr. Leaf has published a number of articles in academic journals and consumer magazines. She is an international speaker and has been widely interviewed in newspapers, on radio, and on television shows. Dr. Leaf's passion is to help people see the power of the mind and the link between science and God. Through Dr. Leaf's masterful blending of science and spiritual insights, you'll learn how to eliminate toxic thinking and strengthen your brain and mind to achieve the abundant life you've always wanted. Welcome, Dr. Caroline Leaf.
Let's welcome Dr. Caroline Leaf. Glory to God. Hallelujah.
Thank you. You may be seated. I think we were last here 3 or 4 years ago, so I'm trying not to tell the same joke tonight. I've been married to the brain for 31 years now, and I'm the subject of most of the books and the DVDs if you decide to get any tonight. There is a conference special, the 4 books over here, and that she'll be talking about for $55, save yourself $11, and that's available in the bookshop. We have to fly out straight away afterwards. We have another engagement in Mexico tomorrow morning. So we have signed a lot of books for you there. So unfortunately, she won't be signing. Anyway, you're all assembled here, so I'm hoping you'll understand Caroline tonight. She's bringing a lot of new stuff. Just remind me, Pastor Bill, of this pastor down the road from you. He was preaching. When he finished preaching, this person came up to him and said, "You know, you must be smarter than Einstein." So he thought about it for a whole week. I mean, Einstein was a very smart fellow. So he found that gentleman the next week and said, "What do you mean I'm smarter than Einstein?" So this fellow said, "Well, there was only about 10 people in the world that could understand Einstein and all his theories. But when you preach, nobody can understand you." So I'm hoping you'll understand Caroline tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. It's so fantastic to be here. Thank you for inviting me again. We really are very honored to speak from this platform, and this is a very dynamic church and really looks after you, which is so fantastic and so important. You know, if you don't look after your mind, which looks after everything else, you've got a problem. So mental self-care is a vital component of being human and doing what it is that you're supposed to do. And being part of a great community like this church is essential to mental self-care. So it is a very important thing that we're going to be discussing tonight. And for those of you that have ever heard me speak before, I have a lot to say. So I've got 50 minutes now, and I'm going to try and pack in some really dynamic truths for you. And I encourage you to really climb into the material, because the stuff that I teach is lifestyle stuff. It's not stuff that you can just hear once and change. It's stuff that you need to apply daily. In essence, I'm teaching people the principles of how to renew your mind and how to do this on a day-to-day basis, because it's clearly that instruction is very clear in Scripture, that we are supposed to be renewing our minds, a constant process. We are supposed to bring all thoughts into captivity. 2 scriptures we say a lot, but do we really think about the implications? Because the average person is thinking somewhere between 30,000 and 180,000 thoughts a day. And you're supposed to bring every single one of those into captivity to the standard that is set up by God, which is one of love and perfection. So I ask you all a very direct question. Are you doing that? Are you bringing every single thought that you think into captivity to love? because that is an instruction for life. It is a lifestyle instruction and is a lifestyle goal. My research over the last 30 years has been focusing on the mind-brain connection and trying to understand how to do this. How do we bring our thoughts into captivity? How do we renew our mind? How do we get our mental self-care to the point where we are aligning it with with love, with the principles of what we know to be true? And I have done extensive work in the clinical field. In fact, we are currently now busy with clinical trials, a whole series of clinical trials. And if you want to find out more, we'll put a slide up on the screen. I encourage you to help me fix this, partner with me as we fix this broken mental health system. And as I go through this evening's talk, I really encourage you to jump on board with me, because we are sitting in a situation where if we don't do something about the way we're being told to manage our mind, our next generation and even our generation will be dying 15 to 25 years younger. That is what the research is showing. So if we go back to my first slide, and then I'll come back to, if you didn't get a picture of that, I really encourage you, please help me do this, because I am coming up against an enormous, gigantic industry of mental health that is basically destroying people. And I really need your help to do this. So we're doing a series of clinical trials that look at non-drug interventions, showing people the power of when you renew your mind, you will change your neurophysiology, your physiology, your physical part of you, and you will get your mind under control. Okay, and we're designed to do that. So basically, we are sitting currently, why am I doing this? Why do I do what I do? Well, let me tell you, one of the main primary reasons I do what I do is, let's have a look at the problem that we're going to see up on the screen. For the first time in decades, the trend of people living longer has reversed. So with the advances in technology, with the advances in medicine, people are not living longer, they are dying younger. In fact, if you look up there, people are dying 15 to 25 years younger from preventable lifestyle diseases. What is lifestyle? Lifestyle is what you do every day. You are always thinking. You're a thinking being. You are always thinking, feeling, and choosing in response to the events and circumstances of life. During the day, you're awake when you do this. And at nighttime, you are sorting out what you have built into your brain as you sleep. So as soon as you open your eyes in the morning, your lifestyle begins with all your mindsets, your attitudes, and the thoughts that you are using to process the events and circumstances of the day, and the new thoughts that you are building in response to the events and circumstances of today. So you can't get away from your thinking, because you are a thinking being made in the image of a brilliant thinking God. So you're brilliant. So you need to make sure that you are using your brilliance correctly, because when we don't use our brilliance correctly, when we don't manage our mind, we will land up having our minds managed for us. And if we're not aware of the deceptions that are out there in the current field, we are just going to be sucked into it. And I have a little bit of bad news, and I have a lot of good news. And the little bit of bad news is that the church is not exempt from this. The statistics of 1 in 4 people on psychotropic medications is a reality in the church as well as out there. So we see exactly the same mental health issues in the church as we do out in the secular world that is not churched. So this is not an exclusive thing. It means that the church that loves Jesus, that follows God, that follows the principles of the word are just as depressed. Just the other day, I was being interviewed on the Shade Room. I'm sure you're familiar with that. It has 14 million followers. And one of the questions, the title of the talk was, Follower of Jesus and Still Depressed. Okay, and it was a brilliant title. And I say to so many churches, I throw out a challenge to all of you tonight. You may not like to hear what I'm about to say, but if you really believe in God, and the love that God exudes throughout what we learn in the scriptures and that we just see in the world around us, and we see in science, and we see in the sunsets, and we see in love and in relationships. If you believe in that and you believe in these scriptures, why are you not managing your mind? And how do I know you're not managing your mind? Because there's no difference in the statistics in the church as there is out there, as I've just mentioned. That problem that I identified for you of people dying 15 to 25 years younger is something that applies globally. It is something that has become a pandemic problem across the world. It is a problem that we are all being dragged into. And in fact, your children and your children's children are going to be living shorter lives than even you will live if we don't stop and smell the roses, if you don't stop and take control back of our mind. The scriptures are very clear that if you don't manage your soul, it will not go well with you. So mental self-care is not an option. A lifestyle of a renewed mind is not an option. A lifestyle of managing your mind is a necessity of being human. And God has made you brilliant in your humanity. And in our humanity, we need to recognize the power that we have within our mind. Because if we don't manage our mind, as I keep saying, your mind will be managed for you. How does that happen? By following the propagandizing that is happening within the media, telling you things like mental ill health is a disease or mental ill health is on the rise. Those are not scientific evidence-based statements. They are propaganda that are misleading the world's population, and people are falling into wrong mind management, and it's leading to this downhill backward sliding kind of situation that we're in, where with advances in technology, advances in medicine, we are going backwards and not forwards when it comes to our mind. Now that is kind of scary. So with every problem there is always a solution, but you need to understand the problem a little bit more deeply, and I want to just break it into two categories for you to help you understand this. First of all, look at the title there, which is Preventable Lifestyle Diseases. People are dying 15 to 25 years younger from preventable lifestyle diseases. Preventable means that you don't have to do this. You don't have to be sucked into this. You don't have to know Jesus and be depressed. You don't have to think that you're ill if you do feel depressed. You don't have to fear depression. David got depressed. Go read your Bible. What you need to do is recognize that depression, anxiety, psychotic breaks, emotional breakdowns, worry, trauma, these are not diseases. These are signals that there is something in your life that you need to deal with. So instead of suppressing the depression and accepting a label and accepting a medication and being told that you have a disease when you don't, okay, you need to embrace the depression, embrace the anxiety, embrace the worry, embrace the uneasiness, because it's telling you something. And by embracing it, you are not celebrating the negativity, you are embracing it as a signal to show you what is the root cause of the depression. What is the root cause of the anxiety? Why am I feeling depressed? Why am I up and down in my emotions? Why am I feeling anxious? What is worrying me? If you've just lost a loved one, or if you've been traumatized in some way, or if you've been exposed to the terrible things that happen in war, if you have been abused as a child, if you've been bullied, if you're in poverty situation, whatever, if you are going through the vagaries of life, which you can't avoid because this is the human condition. We live in a life full of challenges. If you are going through those things and you're feeling sadness, that is very normal. It is very normal. It is a normal response to abnormal situations. So to tell someone that who has lost a loved one, who's been through a war situation, that you now have a disease, when you're already broken, you don't have a disease, you have had an experience. You have a story. You have a context to your life. So what we need to be doing within our communities is operating in love, and that is listening to each other, supporting each other, not queuing up to go to someone to go and get another diagnosis and another medication. We are here for each other. The best mental health support comes from us operating in love, operating in listening to each other, being non-judgmental and reaching out to each other. When is the last time that you looked around a church and you noticed that lonely woman with her 3 children because maybe her husband disappeared or her husband died, or where did you notice that person who maybe acts a little weird, but why are they? Did you go up to them? Did you talk to them? Did you connect with them? How connected are you with the people that you are in relationship with? How connected are you within your community? Are you going beyond yourself and noticing what is going on around you in people's lives? You know that more people die annually from loneliness. It's one of the main causes than obesity. It is one of the main causes of death annually, globally, in all age groups around the world. Loneliness. We are not designed to not be connected. We are designed for deep, meaningful connections. So when we talk about people dying 15 to 25 years younger from preventable lifestyle diseases, that means that we need to look at our lifestyles. We need to look at how we are connecting with other humans. We need to look at how we are managing our thoughts. We need to look at, are we renewing our mind, or are we just falling in that trap of labeling and hiding behind the label? Are you happy to have a label over your life and a diagnosis and suppress the symptoms? Or are you brave enough to face and embrace the challenge of that depression or that sadness that all of us are going to experience? No one is exempt from that. And to look at the root cause, to have the bravery to find out why. What is this prompting? Maybe it's from the Spirit of God prompting you to deal with something in your life, to deal with that trauma that you may be experiencing, to deal with that bitterness, that unforgiveness. That you can't keep it inside of you. Well, you can, I suppose, if you choose to, but there are consequences. Because when you keep something inside of you, you have changed your brain. Your brain is changing every moment of every day as you think and as you feel and as you choose. You are a thinking being. You are always thinking, feeling, and choosing. And as you think, feel, and choose, you are causing your genes to express, which means that you are growing structures inside of your brain. You are creating matter with your mind every moment of every day. And if that mind is not managed, if that thinking, feeling, and choosing is not aligned with the principles of God's love, of what it means to be a human, if they're not aligned, then you are going to build toxicity into your brain. You are going to build real structural changes in your brain, and you are wired and designed and structured for love. You do not have any structures physically in your brain or your body for toxicity. So therefore, when you don't manage your mind, when you don't renew your mind, when you don't capture those and use the signals of depression, etc., to tell you, to use those to identify the root cause of why you are feeling like that, you are not going to resolve things. You're going to basically have one thing suppressed on top of another and then wonder why you're feeling sick, why you're feeling sad, why your life's not going the way you want it to go, why you're not fulfilling what it is that you just deep down inside you know you're designed to fulfill. And then you'll wonder why you're feeling worse and feeling sicker. Meanwhile, you actually need to go back to basics. You need to manage your mind. We see from neuroscientific research and the mind-brain connection, which is part of what I'm showing in these clinical trials, is that as you are thinking, you are influencing your physical. With your mind, you're creating matter. With every thought that you think, you are basically changing your brain structure, your brain chemistry, and you are influencing every cell of your body. Every thought that you think is translated into brain chemistry, translated into a chemical flow through your blood, and influences your genetic expression. Now, this means that every moment of every day, by your thinking, you are influencing your 75 to 100 trillion cells of your brain and your body. And your attitude that you should have every day, is it aligning with God's desires? Is it aligning with the truth? Are you waking up in the morning and putting on these attitudes of forgiveness and gratitude and activating that power? Now I'm going to show you a slide of that in a moment. Oh goodness, I just sent a toxic thought flying. That was a good thing to do. Okay, so this is my toxic thought. Let me pick it up again. I just killed a toxic thought. Very good job. So people are dying. To come back to this slide, just to orientate you again, People are dying 15 to 25 years younger from preventable lifestyle diseases. For the first time in decades, the trend of people living longer has reversed. So something is going on. Okay, so we find, and I look at the next slide, we find that the reason that this is happening is because, number one, people are not managing their mind. Their soul is not well. And if you're drawn, and I've given you a little bit of a picture about if you're going through stuff and you just suppress it and accept a label, you're not managing your mind. Those psychotropic medications, research has shown, shorten lifespan. They impact your ability to think with cognitive flexibility. They impact your intellectual development. They shorten your lifespan. They are not fixing a chemical imbalance. That's just a hypothesis that was never proven. And no scientist worth a grain of salt will ever tell you that you are depressed because you have a chemical imbalance, because it's something impossible to prove. You are not a broken brain. You are a brilliant human being who is going through the vagaries of life. It is the human condition. And what we need to do is embrace those signals, as I keep on saying, and I will keep saying it because it's a new concept. Embrace those, celebrate your awareness, and then work with God through those processes and redesign and reconceptualize that story of your life into one that becomes your testimony. So you don't suppress, you use. It's part of you. If you've been through war, if you've been abused, if you've been traumatized, that is part of your story. We need to honor that part of your story. We need to tune in and listen to that part of your story. But you don't want to stay stuck in that story. You want to take the pain of that story and you want to reconceptualize, redesign it. So the symptoms of depression and anxiety, etc., that which are symptoms, are telling you that there's something going on. So as we recognize this, as we embrace, we can then bring this into the conscious mind. And when this toxic thought, which is a real physical structure in your brain made of proteins, and your brain's not wired for this, so it's caused neurochemical chaos. But as we become aware of this, we are then able to redesign it. If I'm not aware of this, if I've suppressed this through medication or through choice to not deal with my stuff, it is still there, causing damage in your brain, causing the nagging worry and anxiety, and impacting on how you are functioning. So we need to be brave. We need to pull these up into our conscious minds, and we need to do this one at a time, one thing at a time. Goodness, this doesn't want to stand here, out of our brain. And consciously, as we become consciously aware, that is our story. We talk about our story. We go through a process. I call this the 5-step process. I spent 30 years researching this concept, helping people to do this exact process to transform and detox their brain and transform their mind. So as you're aware and you tell your story, and you redesign your story, it means that you look at it differently. So once you were like that, now you are like this. So this is still there. You still remember what you went through, but now you have taken the pain away from it. Yes, you may still cry. Yes, you may still experience emotions, because that's normal. But notice where I'm standing. I'm standing by the green tree. I am now able to, what I call, freak out in the love zone. Okay, because I'm in the love zone. So yes, that is terrible. That trauma is terrible. No one's denying that. It is part of your story. We are honoring that. But it's not any longer. When you've reconceptualized, when you've stepped into love, you've redesigned. This is what happened, but this is the truth. This is how I'm going to see it. I'm going to access the potential of God's love and rewire my brain and redesign my brain so that I can say, this is what God has helped me to see. This is the change in my life. This is how I am coping. This is what I went through, and that is how you will relate to other people, because your story then makes you relatable to other people, and they have a story and you can listen to their story, and so we come together and we develop deep, meaningful relationships that improves our own thinking, feeling and choosing, and it becomes this feedback loop that is very constructive. But if we stay in the zone and we suppress our things and we say, okay, mental ill health, that person's mentally ill healthy, they must go and see a psychiatrist, there's something wrong with them, they're a broken person, and you see mental health like a disease, that is mismanagement of mind. It is not science. It is not accurate. Okay? You're not a broken brain. You have a story. And what we see happening in the research is that when you do this, when you look at a person as having a broken brain, when you corral the mind stuff into the body stuff, it is not going to work very well. What I mean by that is you have something called the biomedical model. And the biomedical model is what we use in medicine. And it's brilliant for medicine. It's brilliant for working out what's physically wrong with your body. If you've got cardiovascular disease, or if you've got cancer, or if you've got diabetes, or any immune problem, or need a surgery because something's broken inside of you or damaged, that is brilliant. The biomedical model works for that. But it does not work for the mind. The mind is your spiritual part of you. Your mind is your thinking, feeling, and choosing. It is the 99% of who you are. Your mind, your thinking, feeling, and choosing, mind in action is thinking, feeling, and choosing. That is the 99% of who you are. It is your spiritual nature. It is eternal in nature. It is quantum in nature. I have a lot in my books on quantum physics and how to relate that and understand the spiritual nature and how it's beyond space and time. So that's the biggest part of you. The physical brain and body is the 1% of you. The biomedical model works superbly for that 1%, but it does not work for the mind, which follows different rules. The mind falls in the realm of neuropsychology. It falls in the realm of the spiritual, and we need a different set of rules. So if you try and apply the 1% rules to the 99%, you will have people dying younger. And that is what the research is showing. One of the main reasons why people are in such a bad place and why people are being told mental ill health is on the rise, it's because we're not managing our mind properly. So I say mental ill health is not on the rise. Let me say that again. Mental ill health is not on the rise. Mismanagement of mental ill health, that is what's on the rise. Mismanagement. Every single person in this room and every single person that you know and every single person on the planet shifts between being mentally healthy and mentally unhealthy. No one is exempt. Every single one of us in the next 5 years, unfortunately to tell you this, but it's according to probabilities and statistics, will experience something traumatic in their own life or their family's lives. And every single one of us every day is going to face the challenges of life. So we need to know that you know this. Life is tough. So you need to have the right mindset so that you can tune into wisdom. And if you don't tune into wisdom and you go through the vagaries of life and you allow yourself to be led by a system that is excellent for the physical but not for the spiritual, you are going to battle. You're not going to manage your mind properly. So we see the majority reason why people are dying younger is mismanagement of mind. And the other thing as well is diet. Now, since I last saw you, I have written 3 books since I last saw you. The one that I wrote just after, this is what I spoke about the last time I was here, Switch on Your Brain, which has the 21-day brain detox in it. Now we're about to bring out an app on the 21-day detox. Mac will show you a slide now. I totally encourage you to get this app. It is powerful stuff that I've been working on for years with my patients. We've now made it very accessible in an audio-driven app with videos to help you 7 to 16 minutes a day, to help you to get your mind managed correctly, to train you to bring all those thoughts into captivity, to train you to reconceptualize those issues. And it's only 15 minutes a day. Okay, so that pretty much is an extension of this book. Then I wrote this book, Think and Eat Yourself Smart, where I teach you about the importance of looking after the brain and the body. We love to say we're stewards of the earth. Well, then act like one. Because a steward of the earth will look after your brain, which means that you cannot live on a diet of junk food and then say grace over it and hope God will turn it into organic food. Because that's kind of like an insult to God. Okay? So there's no excuse to eat unhealthy in this day and age. You've got access to diets all over the place. I don't teach diets. You'll be happy to know in this book there's no diet. All I teach you is the principles of eating real food, the way that God intended. And I also teach you something very interesting about food, which most people don't even realize, and that is that guess what controls your digestive system? Your mind. Eating is a mind event. So let's say you're eating that organic kale salad with that pasture-raised chicken, and it's totally that virgin olive oil, everything correct, all the right real food, not junk processed food. But you're in a really bad mood, and you're have a terribly bad attitude. Well, that toxic mood changes the way that the quantum energy flows through your brain. Your thinking, feeling, and choosing generates this quantum energy through your brain. Your brain responds chemically and electromagnetically and structurally. So you then build damage into your brain. That then sends in, because you're eating in that same mindset, it influences the way that the digestive system works. And I'll give you one example. Your pancreas is part of your digestive system, and your pancreas secretes 20 different types of neuropeptides that are required for you to assimilate and digest that food. Well, if you're in that toxic, envious mood or whatever it may be, eating your healthy food, you have lost pretty much 80% of the nutrients from that food because of your attitude. Your pancreas cannot secrete all 20 neuropeptides. It can hardly secrete any, and if your pancreas doesn't work, nothing else will work properly in your digestive system. So our mind is driving our digestive system. So stop using God as a genie and stop using scriptures as magic potions. And I know that's pretty harsh, but when I see people walking around eating what they want and saying, God will, this is going to say grace, God will this, God is not your genie. You don't just use God and decide to live a life that is no mind control, no eating control, and gossiping, jealous, envious, and then you go to church and raise your hands, and then you wonder why you've got issues. It is authenticity that is required. A successful leader is someone, a successful person, and everyone's a leader because there's something unique that every single person can do. So a successful person is one that is authentic. And an authentic person is one that is truly managing their mind, because your mind controls everything. Your mind is your thinking, feeling, and choosing. Your relationship, your choice of your outfits, your choice of your food, your choice of how you do whatever it is that you do. You're using your mind. If your mind's not working, you're dead, okay? And then your mind is now translated to another state, and we don't even fully understand what that means, but we do know that you've laid a bad foundation if you haven't got your mind right now. So we can't run our minds badly and then blame the devil. Why do you blame the devil? Don't even talk about the devil. I've said it once now. I will not give a pronoun to a concept that has been defeated, because that's what happened when Jesus rose from the dead. So evil has been conquered. So then where does evil come from? Well, when you think, feel, and choose, this is in the way of this table. When you think, feel, and choose incorrectly, you are abusing the power of creativity that is inside of you. You have Genesis power inside of you. Every time you think, you will feel. Every time you think and feel, they go together, you will choose. And every time you think, feel, and choose, guess what? You are creating a structural change in your brain. I mentioned it earlier. You are growing brain cells. Matt, can you show us a slide of the Petri dish of growing brain cells? You literally are growing brain cells as we are listening now, as you are listening to me. You are converting my words, which are electromagnetic light forces, and you are generating quantum energy inside of your brain in response to me talking to you and showing you these images. So you are generating this quantum spiritual power, and that quantum spiritual power is filled with Genesis power. Okay, it is creative power, and you are taking my words and thinking, feeling, and choosing, and your brain is responding, and you are growing protein structures. You are causing your DNA to switch on, and you are growing structures. You are growing thoughts into your brain as you're listening to me now. You are creating matter out of your mind, and those things are the foundation of what you say and what you do. So those are the foundation of what you do every day in your relationship, in your communication with others, in the work that you do. That is where it comes from. You think, feel, choose, build, and you do. And you say. So if you are creating, you have this creative power in you. You are always creating your next reality. What is your next reality? You create it by your reactions. Your reactions are real. This is real stuff. When we talk about renewing our mind, we are talking about evaluating these toxic issues that we have built and gathering those and redesigning them according to how you are supposed to be functioning. That is what it means to bring all thoughts into captivity. It's not some esoteric or philosophical or nice scripture to just quote. It is a reality. Do not use scripture like a magic potion. You heard me say that just now. Don't use it like a positive affirmation because it's an insult to the power of God. God has placed within you the power to create your next reality. Every time that you are envious or jealous or wanting what someone else has got or whining about your life or complaining this or using this as an excuse or blaming the devil, you are completely operating in a pagan way. You are operating out of the love zone. You are operating out of truth. It is far better to say, I did that wrong. Take ownership, take responsibility, look inside yourself and redesign. When you have that nagging anxiety, there is something going on. Listen to that discomfort zone. In this book over here, I wrote a book called The Perfect You, which came out about 2 years ago. In fact, I wrote this for Megafest. For T.D. Jakes asked me to write this book because he loved this concept, and it was released at Megafest a couple of years ago. And it's about the perfect you. It's understanding what it means to be wired for love. I teach you in that book how to tune in and to self-regulate. Because as Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. As Jesus said, you need to constantly bring all thoughts into captivity. Okay, so that means that you are designed to not become self-involved, you are designed to become self-regulated. Very different. Okay, it's not all about me. That's toxic. It is all about you self-regulating. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I choosing? I'm about to say something. What is that thought? Capture that thought. Why? And go into what I call superposition. I teach that in all the principles of my book. Someone says something to you, you get that email, you wake up in the morning, you grab your phone, you're looking at your emails, your wife says something, your husband says something, your kids say something, you go to work, you are constantly getting bombarded with stuff. And all of that is generating thoughts. What are you doing with those thoughts? You must self-regulate. You need to stand back and observe your own thinking. You need to say, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I choosing? In this moment, does this align with love? Is this? And if you're saying to yourself, how on earth do you do that? Well, that is why renewing of the mind is a process. That is why you have to put effort into getting wisdom. There is no quick fix. Stop thinking that it's going to be a Twitter feed. God's going to download, or Pastor Bill's going to lay hands on you. Now suddenly you know, it's all easy. It's not easy. And it's not quick, but it requires perseverance, but you have that in you. It is your design. You have the ability to expect, to choose different, to have the expectation and to see the different probabilities and things. You have that built within you. So what I'm going to show you now is 2 slides. I'm going to show you a slide of the brain firing up, and then I'm going to show you a slide where I'm going to talk about a little bit about mindsets and relate this back to how this kills us, okay, how we die 15 to 25 years younger. So this first slide here is a real brain. It's a real human, and they connect it to very advanced brain technology. And in these clinical trials that I'm doing over this year, we're using this technology. And what we see is what's happening there is what's happening in your brain at the moment. Your brain is responding to the events and circumstances. Right now, the event that you're in is I'm talking to you about your mind. After me, there will be someone else talking about something else. When you go out of here, you're going to be thinking about what you've heard. You're going to be talking to your spouses, your kids, whatever. You may have an email or 2 that you'll do. You'll go to bed. You'll get up tomorrow morning. You'll do it. So in other words, you are in life and your brain is responding. All the in life, all you responding is quantum energy. It's in the spiritual zone. It is the 99% part of you. What you are seeing there is your spiritual zone, your thinking, feeling, choosing, your connection to the Spirit of God, this eternal nature that's in you. You're seeing it firing through your brain. You literally are looking at your spiritual nature being reflected in your brain. Your brain is responding to your thinking, feeling, and choosing. Your brain doesn't control you. You control your brain. You control your physical. But if you damage your physical with toxic thinking, and you damage your physical with accepting labels and losing your identity and thinking that you're a broken human being and that you're this and you that and you're going to be this for the rest of your life, if you choose that, then your brain will wire itself according to what you choose. And that's the reality that you will live. That is what you will reflect back into life. But if you stand back and accept, hey, I've made messes, I have a story, I have a context, I'm going to celebrate the fact that I can identify the toxic stuff and I can change it. Otherwise, I ask you, why did Jesus suffer like Jesus did? You know, you think of the Garden of Gethsemane, we all know the story, but did you ever think of the other part of the Garden of Gethsemane? Jesus showing us the model of what we're supposed to do with toxicity. You face your pain. You don't suppress your pain. You don't drag your thoughts into captivity. You sweat blood and tears through it. You are facing it. You go through that. That whole agony in the garden is demonstrating that life is filled with challenges and it is going to be agonizing at times. But you will get through, and you will get through it if you persevere and push through. And you're designed to do that. That is another model of what happened in the garden. And then Jesus turned around and his disciples had gone to sleep, and he woke them up. He didn't ask them to get crucified for him. He didn't ask the disciples to even carry his pain. What did he ask them? He said, can you just stay awake with me for 1 hour? In other words, deep, meaningful connection. Who's by your side? Who are you supporting? That deep, meaningful connection. Not telling someone what to do, not throwing a bunch of scriptures. Sometimes that's the worst thing you can do. When someone's in a bad place, you say, and you start quoting scriptures. That's not good. Really, it's going to put people off. What they want to know is your authenticity. Do you love me for who I am? Can you help me through this pain? Can you just listen to me? Can you just be with me for 1 hour? We get a model of human connection that is very authentic in the garden. We get a model of how to push through trauma in the Garden of Gethsemane. And we see that if we persevere, whatever the 3 days means in your life, it could be 3 weeks, 3 years, who knows what, that we don't get stuck on numbers. We see that as a metaphor for the fact that there will be time. It isn't quick. There's no quick fix. There is a process. And this is what I've seen from the science that I've done, that when you are changing, it's not going to be quick. It's going to take at least 21 days to break down a toxic habit and build a toxic thought and build a whole new thought. It takes 63 to 84 days to build a habit, not 21. It takes 21 to build a long-term memory. It takes 63 days at least to automatize that into a habit that becomes part of your psyche, a new way of functioning. So if you want to change something in your life and you think it's going to happen by just one laying on of hands or one conference or one 24-hour attempt to change, it's not enough. You have to be prepared to push through. You have to sit through your garden. You have to sweat the blood and tears, and you need support. And you need to pay that support forward, because when you're in a bad place, research shows us that we are very, very able to help others when we're in our worst place. So when you are feeling your most depressed, when you are feeling your most anxious, when you are feeling your most frustrated, when you are feeling your most irritated, when you just want to give up, that's when you pick up your phone and you text your friend, or you text someone that you know needs help. And even if you don't feel like it, you do it, or you phone them, or you take them out for coffee or something, because research shows, which is a totally, and science, when we say research shows, I'm just basically, God uses science to show the truths of Scripture. So science is God's stuff. So if I don't say one more Scripture and I just quote science, I'm talking all God's stuff. Where does it come from anyway? Let's get real. Everything comes from God, okay? So science is confirming how this whole thing works. So if you reach out in your bad place, you improve your own healing by 68% minimum. So you want to feel 68% better pretty quickly? You're still going to have to work through the 63 days, but at least you kickstart that process. You see, it is all about self-regulation, but it's about self-regulation in community. Okay, it is about you connecting meaningfully and authentically with other people, and it is about you paying that forward. And that design is how we are supposed to get over ourselves and how we are supposed to move forward. And at the same time as saying getting over ourselves, you need to celebrate yourself. You need, and that's not being selfish. It is you recognizing, hey, this is what I do. Listen, I am really good at understanding the mind, and I am here to teach you that. That is not me being proud. That is me recognizing that I have an ability to see stuff about the mind that I can translate back. I celebrate that in humility, recognizing that the more I rejoice and get passionate and excited about this, the more I learn, the more I can reach out and help others. That is, so we mustn't have a false humility either. In this book, The Perfect You, I teach you this concept of understanding your identity, understanding the great profile in there to help you to really see the process of developing into who you are as a person. In this book, in the 21-day detox, as I said, oh my goodness, this must just stay on the floor. In this one, it has got the 21-day detox with the app coming out. This one's got the food stuff in it. Now this one over here, which is my most recent book, and I also have a devotional that just came out to try and help you. This is called Think, Learn, Succeed. This book really digs into giving you what should you renew your mind to. So if I had to tell you which book should you get, I'll say get all of them, because I call that the Mind Toolbox. These 4 books with the app that's coming out really soon is a Mind Toolbox. I don't care if you buy this stuff or not. I hope you will. But because I know what it's going to do for you. I'm not here to sell you stuff. I'm here to give you stuff. This stuff is so cheap. If you go for psychotherapy, you're going to pay a fortune. I am showing you with a few books and an app that's going to cost you under $100, you are going to be able to transform your mind. You are going to learn to manage your mind. And as you are managing your mind, so you will help others manage your mind. Because remember, it's not about you, it's about you in the world. It is about you as an authentic being in the world. So in this book, Think, Learn, Succeed, I decided to tackle the concept of, because people would always say to me, okay, so I've got to renew my mind. I understand the concept. I know how to use the 21-day detox, but what are the basic premises that I renew my mind to? So Mac's going to show you a slide now of the 15 mindsets. And what I did in the first part of this book is I discussed the impact of how technology has changed how we think. And technology is amazing. I love it. I know you had a talk today about technology. It's absolutely wonderful, but it needs to be managed correctly, because technology keeps us so connected that we are disconnected. And I have stressed constantly about the importance of deep, meaningful relationships and connection. Okay? And I've also stressed the fact that people die from isolation. People literally die from isolation. And I will also say another thing, that the youth in the United States are the loneliest in the entire world. Okay, so we got a problem. Okay, and that is part of this isolation, disconnection thing. Is part of the reason why people are dying 15 to 25 years younger. Okay, so another thing to try and help people to renew their mind, to detox their mind, to get these principles applying, so that you change your lifestyle, so that you don't become one of these statistics. I decided to write about the mindsets. This is something I discovered in my research, working with my patients over the years and working with thousands of people. There are many mindsets, but these are the 15 main ones. What is a mindset? A mindset is an attitude. It is a very powerful attitude. It is a state of mind. Okay, so mindset is a state of mind, an attitude. So those two words kind of go together. They are synonyms for the same thing. And therefore, when we talk about a mindset, we're talking about something that contains power. So if you've got to renew your mind, you've got to renew your mind to something. And we know that that something is God's principles. So mindsets are a nice scientific way of understanding, think on these things, Philippians 4:8. Okay, so it's a scientific way of kind of understanding that. So just to give you a bit of perspective before I dive into a couple of these, in preventing yourself from dying 15 to 25 years younger, in other words, learning to manage your mind, you need to do a few things. You need to learn to self-regulate, which I've said, okay? You need to learn to self-regulate, and I've said the book, The Perfect You, will really teach you how to get in touch with self-regulating yourself, that you can learn to recognize when you're stepping out of alignment with God and stepping into your perfect you nature. Then the next thing that you need to do is you need to realize that you cannot have chaotic and toxic thoughts. So that is why we have to bring all thoughts into captivity. So we have to train and discipline ourselves to constantly be aware of what we are thinking, feeling, and choosing. And this may sound impossible, but neuroscience shows us, and the research in neuroscience shows us, and quantum physics, that we are able to do the self-regulation more or less 6 times every minute. In other words, we're designed to be constantly aware of our thoughts. We literally are designed, so it's a lifestyle choice. Once you start developing the habit of practicing self-regulating, you will then not be reactive. You will be controlling your reactions. So science shows us we can do it. So in The Perfect You and in Think, Learn, Succeed, I teach you these principles of how to be self-regulated constantly. So if I'm self-regulated, and if I'm self-regulating every 10 seconds, that means that I'm trying to renew my mind. Okay, do you agree, self-regulated? And if I'm trying to do it every 10 seconds, which is 6 times a minute, it means that I'm really trying to bring all thoughts, not just some, all thoughts into captivity. Got it? Okay, so that is a skill that it's a lifestyle skill. And it's when we get into that lifestyle skill, we are then getting into the zone of not falling into those preventable lifestyle diseases. You see what I'm saying? You're being proactive. Because research shows that the main reason, up to the 90+% reason people are dying younger is because of mismanagement of mind. So how do you manage your mind? What is mental self-care? Number one, you have to self-regulate. You have to learn, which means you have to learn to bring all thoughts into captivity. I teach that skill in my book, okay? In all the books. Then, the other thing that you have to do is you have to detox your brain. So now you're self-regulating yourself. You're becoming very aware of your thinking, feeling, and choosing. You're bringing those thoughts into captivity. But you also need to make sure that you allocate at least a 15-minute block in the day. According to science, that's the amount of time that we should be spending. Scientific research on mind-brain health shows you that we should spend around about 7 to 15 minutes a day detoxing our brain. One thought every 21 days. And that's what I teach in that Switch app that's coming out that I've mentioned, and also in this book. And I have the 21-day detox online, which also helps with that. The Switch app is the most advanced hands-on version, okay? So you've got to detox. Now you might be thinking, how am I supposed to do all of this? Well, let me ask you this. Are you a thinking being? Do you think all day long? Yes. Okay, so you may as well think properly. Simple. So you are thinking. So I'm just telling you, develop an awareness of how you are thinking. What are you thinking at this moment? What are you feeling? What are you choosing? When your husband or wife or someone says something to you, before you just go and say something back, think about what you are about to say. So train yourself. And that is bringing that thought into captivity before you just shoot that thought out of your mouth, because whatever you say is in your head, not some random event. Before you just say it, or if you do say it, then be very quick to say, oops, I'm sorry. I reacted wrong. And that's great, because now you can celebrate that you've identified a toxic pattern. But if you weren't aware, you would have thought it's okay. You would have thought it's the other person's fault. They're irritating and you're fine. But meanwhile, it takes two to tango, okay? So that's a lifestyle. It's a choice. You choose to renew your mind. I'm not telling you to do this. The Bible is, okay? So you follow the Bible, renew your mind, renewing your mind, bring all thoughts. So here I'm giving you the science of how to do that. Then you need a detox, because God, it very clearly shows you that we cannot live with toxicity. We cannot live with those toxic traumas which are affecting us and killing our brain, increasing our vulnerability to disease and illness. We've got to deal with them. We've got to deal with the past hurts, etc., etc. And we've also got to detox our bad habits. So there's two categories of detoxing that we need to do for 15 minutes a day. One is our voluntary stuff, our toxic bad habits that we've built. You know, the bad, irritating things that we do, the gossiping maybe, and getting irritated in traffic and whatever it is, snapping or whatever it is that you do. You've got stuff. If you don't think you've got stuff, well, then let's just cast the lying spirit out of you, because you have got stuff. Every single one of us has stuff, okay? So then the other part is the trauma, which is involuntary. No one asked to be bullied, raped, abused, go through war, etc. These are abnormal experiences, but you cannot keep them, because they will destroy your brain, because you're wired for love. You're not designed to keep these. You are designed to reconceptualize them, redesign them. So the 15 minutes a day deals with that. The other part of mind management is building your brain. You need to build your brain. You're brilliant. Your brain is designed every day to learn new information. Technology keeps us so connected that we're disconnected, okay, which is bad. Technology also gives us access to information. Okay, so you can get access to anything, it's at your fingertips, but the problem is that if you just keep accessing information and you don't do anything with it, that's bad for your brain. You're not supposed to remember everything. Did you know it's okay to forget? It's very healthy to forget. It doesn't mean if you're forgetting something, you're getting dementia. If you're worrying about getting dementia, you increase your chance of getting dementia by 63%. So it's okay to forget. And in this book, I teach you, in the third section, I teach you about memory and the truth about memory and how to build your brain correctly. So instead of just gathering like you build a puzzle, you know how you build a puzzle? You gather all the pieces and then you build the puzzle. You take your time. Think of a 5,000-piece puzzle. You sort of sort out all the pieces and then you start building, and it takes time. That's how you are designed to think. You are designed to gather information, and then you're designed to think deeply about it, to ask, answer, discuss, to develop understanding and to learn new information. In this day and age, we are in a position, in a state, it's happening way too much where people are gathering the puzzle pieces, but they're not building the puzzle. So it's changed the way that people think. A research study was done where they put people from the ages of 12 through 78 into a room for 16 minutes, and they, without phones, without iPads, without computers, nothing except themselves, and they had to think for 16 minutes. They just had to think, and they hated it. They hated it. The majority of people hated it. There was a little shocking device in the room hidden away in the corner, and they found it and shocked themselves. More than 54% of people shocked themselves. Men did it more than women. Okay, so this study was repeated years before, similar study, and it wasn't an issue. People love to think. So what has happened in the last 15 to 20 years that we've actually forgotten how to think? And that is really bad for us, because the less you think, you do think, but the less you think deeply, the more you are causing damage in your brain. Your brain every day is designed to build new networks, new neural networks. And if you don't do that, if you don't think things through, if you don't select one article, just take one article that you have scrolled through Instagram, or you've scrolled, not Instagram, maybe through Twitter or the news feed. Take one article and see how this works. Take one article and read the whole thing. Stop, put down everything else, read through, ask, answer, discuss. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I'll give you the 5 steps for building your brain in this book. And you will be amazed after 3 weeks how your intelligence, your focus, your concentration, your mental health, everything improves. One of the things we're not told about in our mental health is the importance. We all get that we must detox our brain, we must deal with our stuff. We kind of all know that. But what we're not told enough of is you need to build your brain. So part of this self-regulation, every 6 minutes, etc., you need, and detoxing your brain every 15 minutes, you need to take at least 1 hour a day where you build your brain. And this can all be part of your lifestyle. I do my detoxing when I get ready in the morning. It's just a habit. It's become a habit. I have trained myself to self-regulate during the day. When I slip, which I do, I'm very quick to say sorry. I'm very quick to self-regulate. I'm very quick to remind myself. And all these little reminder things are built into this new app called Switch that I told you about. I take at least 2 hours a day with I'm always on planes. I'm always flying somewhere. I'm always, but in the morning, first thing when I wake up is I do my research. I'm alert. I'm awake. I spend at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours doing research. If I'm traveling and I can't do it at that point, I will make sure before that 24 hours is up that I have spent at least 1 hour a day thinking. Another thing I talk about that is vitally important that you can do, I'm trying to give you some techniques to help you to manage your mind, is, and all the stuff's in my material, is take one 15-minute block during the day. And this you can do over lunch. So the detox you can do when you're getting ready. The self-regulation goes on all day. It's a process of developing that skill. And the brain building, you can find 1 hour somewhere in the day, and you have got that hour. Stop going on Instagram. Get off Facebook. Watch an hour less TV. Stop gossiping for an hour. Stop wanting someone else's stuff for an hour. And spending time on how hard done you by you. I know in this room does that, but stop living a life of envy and jealousy. These may be harsh statements, but look deeply. Are you envying someone else? If you're envying someone else's life, you're causing brain damage. You're wasting time. Because there's something you can do that no one else can do. So therefore, you are a leader in your own right. Every person is a leader. And every person who is operating in their true potential recognizes that they need to keep learning, and they need to keep changing, and they need to keep growing. So therefore, brain building is a natural part of the way God has designed you, the way you are structured. You are designed to keep learning new information, keep growing, keep changing, keep going. Let me get spiritual for a moment, from glory to glory. Okay? So you can build that. I'm out of time. You can build that into your mindset, okay, into your state. So can I take 1 minute just to wrap this up? Is that okay, Pastor? 1 minute. Okay, quickly, Mac, put the 15 mindsets up. The mindsets, now I said all of this to say, how do the mindsets help you? The mindsets are in this book over here, the Think, Learn, Succeed. These are very logical, powerful things, okay? A mindset is a state of mind, it's an attitude, and let me give you an example. The very first one is the thinker mindset. When you wake up in the morning, you need to put your mindset on, like you put your clothes on, and a mindset contains power, okay? So in other words, your thinker mindset, you wake up in the morning, and as you wake up, you say to yourself, I am going to detox my brain, I'm going to self-regulate, I'm going to take 15 minutes just during the course of the day just to daydream over lunchtime. I'm going to close my eyes, pretend I'm sleeping, and just let my mind wander, which is incredibly good for the internal networks of your brain. And that helps you to develop your thinker mindset. What I'm saying by a mindset is that there is power in your ability to think deeply. There is power in your ability to regulate your thoughts. There is power in your ability to detox your brain, to build your brain. All the stuff I've been saying, by putting on a thinker mindset, it means that you are determined to bring all thoughts into captivity, to renew your mind. The thinker mindset launches you into your day of being a renewed person. Do you get what I'm saying? So you literally open your eyes and you put that mindset on. If you look at a couple of the others, controlling your thoughts mindset, chaotic toxic thoughts that are jumping all over the place cause brain damage. They will damage your brain and they will cause you feelings of anxiety and depression, etc., because they are not normal. We're not designed to have chaotic thoughts. So by self-regulating, bringing all thoughts into captivity, you can work against that. So in each of these mindsets, I explain what they are, I give you a little bit of science, and then I give you activation tips on how you can start developing these mindsets. So I wake up in the morning, I put on my thinker mindset. I'm going to do all that thinking stuff. I'm going to control my thoughts. I'm going to work on that. Let me grab another one that's easy to follow. I'll take two more very quickly. Forgiveness mindset. We all know the spiritual reasons to forgive. But if you don't, on a scientific level, if you don't forgive, you actually keep the damage in your brain. And you stay connected to the source, so therefore it's constantly being energized. So you are growing a toxic, physical, broken, distorted protein tree in your brain that is setting you up for vulnerability to illness and disease, physical and mind stuff. Okay, so when I wake up in the morning, I say, okay, I know someone's going to irritate me today. I know someone's going to do something that I'm going to have to forgive. So I know it in advance. So I put on my forgiveness mindset. So when it happens, it's no issue to forgive. It is so easy because I have power. I have activated the power. In other words, these mindsets I step into. I start my day. I clothe myself in these mindsets. I expectancy mindsets. The last one I'm going to close off with. As you expect, you are imagining. When you expect something to happen, you're imagining. Research shows that when you imagine, you are physically building the structure in your brain. It's the same as though you are doing. Genesis 11:6 says that whatever they imagined they could do would not be impossible. The brain is designed in such a way to respond to the mind. When you expect, you build. And when you build, it will produce fruit. So therefore, if you're expecting your boss to be awful today, if you're expecting it to be a lousy day, if you're expecting the traffic to irritate you and you know the traffic's bad, well, then it is going to be bad. Because that's the mindset but if you expect, okay, there are issues, but I'm going to, and step into the love zone and shift your mindset. If you do that, what you are then doing is you're using your creative power to build your next reality. And that's all I've got time for. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Remember, you are brilliant. You have a great mind. You cannot control the events and circumstances of your life, but you can control your reactions. Please get renewing of your mind under your belt. Do not become one of those statistics. Thank you so much. God bless.